Alright, also look, ooh, welcome back to the channel, and guess what? It's fight week, and UFC 317 is going down this weekend live at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, with the main event featuring the lineal, undisputed featherweight champion of the world, as well as the man who will inevitably become one of the greats of this entire sport, the one and only Ilia El Matador Topuria, taking on the pride of Brazil, the record holder of the most finishes in the organization, the submission king himself, as well as the former undisputed lightweight champion of the world, Charles Olivera, Charles du Bronx. And in today's video, we're gonna be going over my main card breakdown, analysis, as well as predictions on UFC 317's main card, as well as also speed running through my early prelims as well as regular prelim predictions as well. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's get right in to the video. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can help me reach 3,000 subscribers by May. I'll deeply appreciate you, and make sure you join the official UFC Discord, link in the description. Alright, so look, for this video, I'm gonna be speed running through my early prelims as well as regular prelim predictions, and then later getting into more detailed breakdowns once we've reached the main card. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin with the curtain jerker, the first fight of the night, where we've got a bout between Niko Price taking on Jacoby Smith, where I've got Jacoby Smith taking this fight in either a second to third round KO or TKO against Niko Price. Next up on the card, we've got a heavyweight bout between Jonathan Denise taking on Alvin Hines, where I've got Jonathan Denise by a first to second round KO against Alvin Hines. Next up on the card, we've got a middleweight bout between Cedricus Dumas taking on Jackson McAfee, where I've got Cedricus Dumas to take this dub by a unanimous decision. Now, heading into the prelim fights, where we've got a lightweight bout between my boy Terrence McKinney taking on Vyacheslav Borshev, where I've got Terrence McKinney taking the dub by either a first to second round KO against Vyacheslav Borshev. Next up on the card, where we've got a women's flyweight bout between Viviane Araújo taking on Tracy Cortez, where I've got Tracy Cortez taking this dub by a unanimous decision victory. Next up on the card, where we've got a featherweight bout between Haider Amil versus Jose Miguel Delgado, where I've got Haider Amil to win this fight by a unanimous decision victory. And now last, but certainly not least, for the prelim fights, where we've got a middleweight bout between Gregory Robocop Rodriguez versus the return of Jack Hermanson, where I'll be taking Robocop Gregory Rodriguez by a possible late fight TKO or a unanimous decision victory. Really don't like that layoff for the Joker, man. And now for the main card, where we've got a bantamweight bout between Frank Ocean's baby daddy, Payton Talbet, versus Felipe de Lima. And I'm not gonna lie, de Lima's just about the biggest obstacle Talbot's faced off against up until this point. And honestly, this might be an even tougher matchup than the one he had against Tony Barcelos. Why? Because unlike Barcelos, who's clearly past his peak, Felipe de Lima is right in the thick of his prime. I mean, he's fast, sharp, and dangerous, and the UFC are throwing him straight up against Payton Talbot in order to see if the hype is truly real. And look, this fight is going to answer a lot of questions. I mean, has Payton Talbot cleaned up his grappling defense? Can he adjust in real time against a dynamic in their prime opponent? I mean, we all know that Payton Talbot's got the striking advantage going up against de Lima. He's got the power, the fluid combinations, and he's shown in his past fights that he's got that killer mentality. But de Lima ain't no walk in a park, though he does have this little habit of getting clipped in his fights, and if Payton Talbot can capitalize in those moments, I do think that he could potentially either steal rounds or even drop Felipe de Lima. Still though, this one's major close, super close, but I do believe that Payton Talbot's got the tools he needs in order to win this fight. I mean, he's the better striker and he's got the better finishing ability, but we have to see if he's addressed those holes in his defensive grappling, because De Lima will undoubtedly test that in this fight. But with that being said, I'm gonna be going with Payton Talbet by either a late third round TKO or a unanimous decision victory. But it wouldn't shock me if De Lima is able to make it messy and maybe pull off an upset. Next up on the card, we've got the matchup that I cannot believe is going down this Saturday night. I mean, both of these cats are my favorite current flyweights on the roster. Brandon Raw Dog Royval versus the fearless Joshua Van will be going head to head during UFC 317, and man am I devastated. And look, I want to believe in Josh Van, I really do, but this is a massive leap in competition, especially this early. I mean, Josh Van just fought at UFC 316 and barely had time to even reset. And now he's stepping up on short notice to face the #1 guy in the freaking world. And that's tough, no matter who you are. I mean, Raw Dog Royval has the size, he's got the experience, and that chaotic high output style that makes him a nightmare matchup to deal with for not only Josh, but anyone at 125. Anything Josh Van does well, I'm talking about the sharp boxing, the great volume, as well as the relentless pressure, Royval has an answer for all of that. And the truth is, it ain't like Josh Van's this nuclear power puncher with one-shot knockout ability either. I mean, his boxing's super crispy, don't get it twisted, but he really needs to rev up and have the fight going his way in order to really show levels. I think Raw Dog Royval is just too versatile, too adaptable, and just way too dangerous everywhere. I mean, as the formerly undefeated Tatsuro Taira, what I'm talking about. But, you know, if Josh Van starts landing, Raw Dog Royval just needs to mix in the takedowns. If it gets chaotic, Raw Dog thrives there as well. And, you know, again, don't get it twisted, y'all. I love Josh Van, and I still think he's got a super bright future ahead of him. Matter of fact, he might even become a future champion, but I just don't think he's that ready for this level yet. That is why I've got Brandon Raw Dog Royval by a possible second to third round TKO or even a sneaky submission. I think the size, the pressure, as well as the experience, especially the experience, are going to be the difference maker here. Way too soon, UFC. Way too soon. Now, next up on the card, we've got a lightweight bout, a real interesting one. Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. And I'm leaning toward Moicano taking the dub on this one. And you see, a few months ago, when they were originally booked to fight, I was really confident in my pick in Moicano. I mean, Moicano's ground game is criminally underrated, and on the feet, he's a lot more dangerous than a lot of people give him credit for. And now, I am still in favor of Moicano winning this fight, but Beneil Dariush is a supremely crafty veteran. I mean, he's tough, and he's always finding ways to survive, and, you know, he's kind of made a career off of bouncing back. That being said, though, the knockout losses are just piling up, and, you know, he's kind of been on the decline. Plus, his last fight was nearly 2 years ago when he got starched out unconscious by Charles Olivera, Charles Bronx. And, you know, Renato Moicano, meanwhile, disregarding the Islam Makhachev fight, is coming off of a really great performance against Benoit Saint-Denis. And, you know, it does seem like he's been finding his groove at lightweight. And, you know, if he can get that top position or land clean, I do think that he could absolutely overwhelm Beneil Dariush and potentially get the finish. But, you know, it is a close fight. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to go with Renato Moicano taking the dub by either a third round TKO or a unanimous decision victory. And now for the co-main event of the evening, where we've got a flyweight championship bout between the Cannibal as well as one of the greatest flyweights of all time, Alexandre Pantoa versus Don't Blink Kai Kara France. And to me, this one's all about levels, honestly. And Pantoja's just so much more complete. I mean, he's a submission machine with elite BJJ. 11 wins by submission. And, you know, he kind of thrives when the fight hits the mat. Now, obviously, we ain't finna sleep on Kai Kara, because if anyone at 125's got the power to clip Pantoa and knock his socks off, it's Don't Blink Kai Kara. I mean, he's a legit striker with real knockout power, and if Alexandre Pantoa hangs around too long on the feet, then I could see it getting a little dicey. But that's the thing. Alexandre Pantoa doesn't need to stand and bang. I mean, he can always mix it up, drag it to the ground, and completely outclass Kai Kara France in every single grappling exchange. On top of that, Alexandre Pantoa has the undeniable championship level experience. I mean, he's been in there before so many times, whether it be Moreno, Royval, Urseg, or even Asakura Shitty Bud. He's gone deep in those tough fights, and I trust his cardio, his chin, as well as his fight IQ under the pressure way more than I do Kai Kara's. That is why I've got Alexandre Pantoa, and still by third round submission or a unanimous decision victory against Kai Kara France. And now for the main event of the evening. The fight that's got every single fight fan in a frenzy right now. And honestly, I can't blame you. Because regardless of the outcome, a significant portion of the MMA fan base will be in disarray. The matchup for the vacant UFC Undisputed Lightweight Championship of the world. Featuring the lineal undisputed featherweight champion of the world, as well as the man who will inevitably become one of the greats of this entire sport, Ilia El Matador Topuria, taking on the pride of Brazil, the record holder for the most finishes in the organization, the submission king, as well as the former undisputed lightweight champion of the world, Charles Olivera, Charles do Bronx. And for this fight, was it really a question? I mean, I'm picking Ilia Topuria to finish Charles Olivera in the first round. And, you know, it really just comes down to a clash of styles, honestly. And how clean Ilia El Matador Topuria is, where Charles Olivera, Charles do Bronx, is vulnerable. And, I mean, looking at this on paper, Ilia El Matador is a compact, explosive striker with elite size selection and perfect balance in the pocket. He doesn't waste any type of movement and, keeps his guard tight and delivers power from short, sharp angles that are able to shut your lights off in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, Charles Olivera, Charles do Bronx, though extremely dangerous everywhere, is still hittable, especially early. And I know it's kind of a broken record at this point, but he does get caught clean in nearly every single one of his fights. Not to mention, his head stays on that center line far too often when he's throwing, which is basically a death wish when going up against someone with nuclear KO ability like Ilia El Matador Topuria. That being said though, Charles Olivera, Charles do Bronx does have the more diverse offensive toolkit, especially with, the knees, the kicks, those explosive flurries, but defensively, he's wide open. I mean, he walks forward with his chin up in the clouds and tends to rely on chaos in order to overwhelm his opponents. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but that won't work on Ilia El Matador, who thrives in those clean exchanges and punishes overextensions. Even on the ground, where Charles Olivera will be at an advantage, Ilia Topuria isn't the type to panic. I mean, his grappling base is extremely strong, and he's got the confidence to stay safe in those scrambles. I think the difference here is that Ilia Topuria doesn't need the chaos in order to land. He'll create openings through structure as well as discipline, which is exactly what Charles Olivera struggles against. Another issue for Charles Olivera, Charles do Bronx, is that he often builds momentum as the fight goes on, but he's at his most vulnerable in the opening moments. That's where Ilia Topuria is at his deadliest, and if Charles Olivera, Charles do Bronx doesn't make those defensive adjustments early, or if he tries to pressure recklessly like he usually does, then Ilia Topuria's timing, as well as his ability to fire back with those tight counters, could end things quickly. But overall, Charles Olivera, Charles do Bronx absolutely has more weapons overall than Ilia El Matador. But early on in the fight, when both guys are fresh and both guys are dry, I think Ilia El Matador Topuria's discipline, his timing, as well as his ability to counter clean makes him especially especially dangerous. And if Charles Olivera starts fast like he usually does, I think Ilia Topuria clips him bad early during an exchange and finishes him with follow-up shots on the ground. That is why I've got Bruce Buffer shouting "and new" at the end of this fight, subsequently crowning Ilia El Matador Topuria the new undisputed lightweight champion of the world. But that's all I've got to say for this video. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of UFC 317's full card? And who do you guys have for the blockbuster of a main event that we've got on our hands? Ilia El Matador Topuria or Charles Olivera, Charles du Bronx? Let me know in the comment section below. But that about wraps up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.